The magic train?
The magic train.
It's more of like a rabbit hole situation.
But it's got to be done in the proper proportions. At the upper echelon of things, you know, when it comes to like audio systems, headphone systems, and that, you know, and I mean, even like with our own designs and the way we think about when we design products, we do a lot of subjective testing. And one of the things that we key in on, I think, is this magic sound of things, right? Like how to make it sound like music. Like, you know, like when you get a, you know what I mean? Like you get a 2-channel and a system that's like perfectly tuned and set up in a room, you know, and you could sit down and go, oh, the image just floats in the middle of the speakers type thing.
Something like that.
You know, and it's like, it's not something that usually happens like overnight. It's not something that you just buy these things and throw it in a room and it just works that way. Usually there's work, there's time involved, patience to set it up like that, right? And, you know.
It sucks, is what it is. I remember, it was just like, well, with speakers especially, like, figuring out placement, walking back and forth, listening back and forth, moving them, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to keep walking back and forth anymore. I'm good for today.
You almost want like a remote control. Like,
Well, yeah. Oh, that'd
can
be
you move
nice.
the speakers with a remote?
Yeah, little like turntables. You put your speakers on.
Did somebody make something like that?
Presumably, yeah.
Somebody was making something like that.
That would help. But you only do it once.
Or he just raises and lowers the speaker. Was that Josh?
That sounds expensive.
Yeah.
No, I didn't see that.
I thought he had a video. Wasn't it? He was making things that stand that raises and lowers the speaker or something like that.
Maybe.
I don't know. Well, you could actually change the height of it, which I guess is one thing. But
Okay.
it would be cool if you could move other things around. But yeah, with headphones, it's a different story because you kind of like stick it on your head, and that it is what it is.
Kind of.
Kind of.
But it does seem like as you move towards the upper range, what people are looking for isn't necessarily better sound. You're looking for like kind of the aha moment.
Well, it's better sound, but
it's a kind of complicated way to define it because it's not better sound in like I could tell you in some number that this is 3.2% better.
There's no objective way.
It's very, very hard to come up with a reason why you think it sounds better. But for you, occasionally you could stumble on a system or configuration of a system that really just, it sounds lifelike. It sounds like you're there and you kind of get more immersed in the experience. And that, I think, is a bit of the magic that a lot of people are looking for in the high end. That's why people spend so much money buying new amps and whatever, DACs and cables,
I guess
headphones.
we should try to describe that to people that's never heard it before, which there's plenty of people who have probably not gone to that, never been to that level. You call it the summit, the plateau of audio, you know?
I think it's kind of hard to get across.
Yeah,
it
might be without experiencing it. Yeah.
It's pretty rare. I don't see it very often. Yeah. But I know, like, when you have a long time to tweak something, you could eventually get there if you know what you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got to have the right options when you're picking the tweak too. Don't go down the wrong path and it doesn't get any better, or it hits a brick wall type thing. So
it seems like it is a bit dependent on the person, although there are combinations and systems that are more likely to get you this magic. It does seem like a little bit of tweaking may be required for the individual person to get it to be their perfect.
But even then, what are they listening for? Think about what do we listen for when we're subjectively tuning something, and I mean, it's not, you're gone now, okay, the measurements are done. You did all that, right? You got the distortion, and you got the freak response, and you got all that. You're done with that. Now, how does it sound, right? And if you're not happy with that, then you got to do something about it. You got to go beyond the objective side and tune subjectively. So, I guess in some respects, the question is, what are we listening for when we do that, or what would people be listening for? And to me, it's kind of like the one thing I can think of is like the sense of space. To be able to hear the way the recording, like where the space of the recording was done in, and even room boundaries. You can get into the really depth of that. You know what I mean? But space is a thing, and then.
Yeah, I think in speakers in particular, since the biggest thing I notice is you're always fighting the room you're in. That's the biggest thing. Essentially, with placement and stuff, you're always trying to put them in a place that doesn't,
does the least harm.
Yeah, especially for windows and stuff, and you're trying to tow them in so you don't have anything bouncing off windows, and Yeah, that's always the problem.
Yeah, the room is always an issue. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you can't live with it, and you can't live without it type thing sometimes. And
I mean-
people go to room treatment for that,
Yeah.
to solve some problems. But then that stuff, you can overdo that, and it creates other issues. You
or
absorb too much.
If you're just using your living room, you don't have a dedicated room.
Yeah.
You don't want to just I mean, some people would, I'm sure, but yeah, just hanging stuff all over the wall.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
typically the wives don't go for that stuff, and it's not like you can cover your windows with foam panels and call it a
Well,
day.
You could.
Yeah, you
could.
could.
I'm sure
yeah.
people do it.
Heavy drapes.
But I think it's the same thing in headphones, that final tuning, you're well, at least for me, doing the same kind of thing,
Yeah.
looking for the same kind of things to,
Yeah, me
you know.
too. I mean, it's that space where you're getting it just right, and
Yeah.
and you can really, it really feels like you're with the singer. You can like the instruments playing, like you're on stage with the band, and you could hear this guy playing a guitar. He's like right next to you, right? That's kind of part of the magic is it's there. It's real.
That's pretty much what everybody's looking for. But I think if you haven't experienced it, it's going to be a little hard to really grasp what this is. There's a lot of systems you hear, you put the headphones on or whatever, and they sound like headphones. And I think to a lot of people that sounds obvious, but it's more profound than you may recognize. Because there's a lot of stuff you may not really notice or care about the difference between the gear. You'll hear one pair of headphones versus the next, and maybe you could hear differences, but they don't matter to you. But occasionally, you could stumble on a configuration or a system that you put it on, and it doesn't sound like the gear or the headphones are there. It sounds like you're there with the band. It sounds like you're hearing the music live. And I guess for me, at least, that's kind of the magic, I suppose, that a lot of people are seeking in the high end. It makes it so you don't notice the gear. Their limitations are not at least noticeable enough for you to consider them to be relevant. And you could get that, but it's very hard. Everything needs to be very good.
yeah, essentially forgetting you're listening to speakers or headphones.
Right.
Yeah,
Just
right.
like-
Yeah, you're
that's
just
hard to do.
Yeah, as they call it, you're immersed into the experience of the music, and you do forget about the system and stuff
Mhm.
like that, And it does usually to get to that level, it takes some money and some practice, and you got to be able to. Usually, if you've never done it before, you're not even close to doing it. It's usually best to get someone with experience who has done it to help you set it up, because otherwise, that's a long path to this audio nirvana we're talking about.
Yes.
It's not an easy one. It's not like you're going to stumble on it. Oh, look at that! Wow, first out of the gate, it sounds like real
Very
life.
unlikely.
Yeah,
And
very.
this is also well beyond just the sound. The sound is not necessarily the most important thing to some people to get this audio perfection.
Well, that's true too.
You also need to be comfortable with the system. You yourself need to be comfortable. You need to have, if you have headphones on, they need to feel the way you expect a headphone to feel. Because otherwise, if something's highlighted to you as a problem, you're going to not be as readily immersed into your system. If you don't like the way the volume knob works on your deck and you frequently adjust it because that's the type of person you are, that could be a roadblock.
Or even like the
to
chair,
achieving this.
even the chair you're sitting in.
Could be anything. The room
know?
you're in. It could be there's somebody yelling in the background,
Yeah.
right? There could be all kinds of things that distract
But
you.
those are distractions. But yeah, but bottom line is that what are people listening for? Like, what's the magic? We haven't defined the magic. Okay, we defined space.
That's the hard part.
I think I remember early on when I first started my subjective side of things when I was in my probably I don't know how old I was, my 20s, right? And I started thinking I've enjoyed music before that. I was putting speakers all over the room and stuff, and it really never had a proper imaging setup, until I started getting into real audio with two speakers and trying to get. Anyway, bottom line, the first thing I remember was female vocals, where I think because with voice, like we all know voice, so like vocals are something I think a lot of people can begin to key in on.
Yeah, it seems like that's the main thing. people
Because
look
you talk
for,
to
yeah.
people all day long, so you know what that should sound like. Where instruments
maybe.
are a little bit fuzzy for some people to
Yeah,
really
you're
know.
not listening to live instruments all day.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
That's rare. Yeah. And even if you are, it's probably amplified.
Could be.
You go to, so it's not really the instrument itself, right? In a room too, which you're listening to a room with big speakers, and you never really hear the instruments unless you're in an orchestra, right? So anyway, unless you play yourself too, I guess if you play your own instrument maybe. But even then, you're probably not really listening to it the same way as an audiophile would. You're worried about playing the next note It's not really the same kind of
Well, yeah.
you know
Yeah, you're not
adventure.
sitting back and listening.
Yeah,
You're playing.
but that's the first thing I think of. So I mean, I think that's if someone has never done it before, it's like, you know, what you're tweaking for is to try to get voices to sound like almost scary, like they're there with you, like it's next to you. That's
Right.
probably the easiest thing to key in to begin with. Voice.
Yeah.
Voice.
Actually, the scary thing, I've seen it like a couple of times with headphones. Remember the one time it was actually like scary was in Munich that one time. You
Yeah.
know, what did we had that Golden Gate
Oh,
back
yeah.
with the tubes.
Oh yeah, that was
that there was that
125,000
one
euro.
track, and it was like you were just here, try this out, and you would just watch people like looking around. It's like that was
You know, we set up this 120. For people that don't know, we just set up this 125,000 euro headphone system. You know, like the most expensive headphone system you could.
We were kind of trying, but
Yeah.
Yeah, but we got everything was like 20 grand.
Yeah.
The
Well, that's
DAC
the
was
most
20 some
expensive
grand.
stuff you could find.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
We had a $20,000
upgraded
streamer.
the tubes on everything. Yeah.
Upgraded tubes.
Yeah.
You know, best cables we can make.
Yeah. Oh,
You
the
name
rack
it was all there.
Really expensive too, and everything.
Yeah, the rack. Yeah, we had a still points rack.
Yeah,
And,
you might call it a diminishing return system.
When was that? 2018, 2017?
17, I think.
I think it was 17.
There's
Yeah.
probably something on the internet about
There might
it,
be a
but-
picture,
yeah.
But bottom line, yeah, that was a pretty nice freaking system, you know.
The thing is, even usually it's like too loud on the floor for that stuff like that to happen.
Right.
But even at the show level, it was still like scary.
Yeah, because the average noise there is probably 80,
Yeah,
85
it's
loud.
pretty
dB.
loud. Yeah, and that thing still did it.
Well, it's strange to me that this is so hard to define because without a doubt, it's very hard to come up with a simple explanation to say, oh, this is what you're looking for. You just add more of this and it somehow makes it sound like perfection to you. But it really is exactly like that. And I guess a decent enough parallel is you look at like high-end robotics, animatronics, that sort of thing. You reach a point where they get good enough that they start to look more human-like, if that's what they're going for. And they kind of hit this point, typically called the uncanny valley or something like that, where they're like 99+% there, but not 100. So you know it's not real, but it looks really close. But something's off in a way that you can't really directly pinpoint, but it makes it unsettling. It makes it kind of hard to really look at because it's a tiny bit off and you're so incredibly familiar with it that it almost makes you as a person suspect there's something wrong with you because you assume that this is actually supposed to be a real thing. You're not intrinsically, you're not assuming that this is a robot or whatever.
Well, it's kind of like the movies they're making nowadays, right? Where they can pretty much simulate people.
Yeah, but you could always tell. Though,
you could
that's the thing.
almost
Yeah.
always tell.
Yeah,
The only
right.
time you can't is when something's distracting you or it's not super clear.
Or
They're
it's like
hiding.
in
It's
the
like
distance,
fog. It's in
yeah.
the distance.
Isn't there a new
Usually
movie?
it's close, but not 100%.
Isn't there like a newer movie that just came out? You said, or is coming out that's supposed to be really good at that? Or I thought something a Disney movie. I don't know what it is. Probably,
I don't know.
Probably Pixar Studios, but yeah, I
It
thought
must
there was,
not have been me. I don't
Yeah, I don't know. I thought there was something that was
Probably.
yeah, or we saw previews of, and it's like oh, it's going to be pretty good. But
All this stuff always keeps getting better, but we're still not there. So obviously they can't figure out, oh, this is all we need to do to get it to be 100%. Now it's perfect.
yeah.
That last tiny bit is so incredibly challenging because every little bit, everything you could ever see and measure and observe in one of these interactions is critical to get it to look exactly like a human would.
Well, I mean, look at video. You're never like seeing a TV on the wall and thinking, "Man, that looks like real life."
Like you're looking
It could
out the
look
window.
Good, but
Yeah, it
yeah,
doesn't
you
look
can
like a
always
window.
tell.
Yeah, you're
so-
never looking out the window on a
So
TV.
that's hard
You
to make it
can't
look
do
like you're
Yeah.
actually looking at a
Yeah, they
window.
still can't do it no matter what.
But strangely enough, with audio, in some rare situations, you could get that. You actually can put headphones on or have speakers in a room, be sitting in an area. If everything is just right, you could feel like
I
you're
guess
there.
when you think about it, you know, when you talked about it, where you know you can at some point you recognize the flaw, and that's what I think as humans that's what we're doing, right? We're always analyzing, even though we don't
Yeah.
even realize it. You're always thinking something's gonna trip you up. I don't know what it is. It's part paranoia. It's probably I'm sure psychologists would have to know all the buzzwords.
There might be some evolutionary
But
reasons
there's
or
some
something.
soup, evolutionary soup that got mixed in us where we're just like, we're always on guard, we're always like, and so we're always like picking out something that's not real, or that's the fake, or that's,
Right.
you know what I mean? And
So it's hard to trick your
yeah,
natural
right.
sense.
Yeah, it's really difficult because
Yeah.
you're expecting it not to be real. And so now, you know, so you got to be, not only do you got to be good enough to fool those senses, right? But it's got to go over the top, even if you think about it, and actually go almost like it is real.
Right.
And it's
Almost better than real life.
Yeah. So if you think about that, wow, that's a level. That's a certain level there you got to be at.
It's very hard.
You know, to go beyond that and go, oh, this is really real. You know. So
Well, it's hard enough with like 2 speakers or a pair of headphones, but you know what really gets difficult? Multi-channel. You know, like
Yeah,
when you
right.
start talking home theater, oh my god, to get that to seem like there's not just a bunch of speakers
Yeah, you
around
could always
you.
hear the speaker placement.
Yeah.
You could always hear the speaker fault. So especially if it pans, you hear, well, this speaker sounds different than
Yeah.
that one.
yeah, because somebody's sitting there with a bunch of knobs making it happen like that, you know, and
Yeah.
they're trying to recreate. They're trying to create the image. The best multi-channel I've heard has been like wasn't so many years ago at CES where the recordings were done with multiple mics.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
and then
yeah.
they're still doing that, I think, in some studios. And then they'll set to playback. They'll put the speakers in a very similar position that the mics were in.
Yeah.
So you're hearing basically where the mics picked up the sound. That's what you're hearing, and whatever it was they were recording, whether it be a band or an individual singer with a acoustic guitar, and it sounds pretty good. I mean, you lose the sense of surround sound, and you just basically you're hearing what those mics were picking up all around what was the event, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, can't do that for movies though.
Can't do that for movies, but you're right, especially if you're like on a fighter jet.
Well,
set.
yeah. Yeah, okay, let's
It's a real bitch.
put mics all over this thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to that one coming out though. The
Top Gun?
Top
yeah,
Gun?
yeah. I mean, that seems pretty cool what they did, where they're supposedly trying to give you the experience.
No.
It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. You probably got to go to a theater to see that, to appreciate that.
I have a theater.
Yeah, I guess maybe a big screen would be enough at home. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's relatively bigger than at the theater because I'm sitting much closer.
Well, that's true. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing then. Yeah, but that would be cool to you could see where that would be. That's something that they're probably shooting for. They're trying to put you in the cockpit with the plane.
Well, that's going to be pretty hard to do
And they
in the
claim
video.
no one's ever done it before. So I happen
We'll
to know
see.
this. I happen to be catching a preview of the movie. They got like a 10-minute trailer. You
Yeah, I
can
didn't
watch.
see this, so yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's too
Yeah,
bad. Yeah, it's pretty
yeah.
cool. You got to check it out.
I'll
Yeah,
have
it's
to check it
pretty
out.
cool. They got all these IMAX cameras, or I don't know, in the cockpit. That they hard mounted to get all the faces moving.
Yeah.
But if you think of it that way, basically, could you watch a video or something and feel truly like you are there? Maybe in some rare circumstances, and you have to be in the right mood. You have to be, for whatever reason, more predisposed to feel this way.
Well, what were those things
But-
we used to get like at the Science Center in Toronto? Was it an IMAX?
Yeah, it was IMAX.
Where it was the screen was like
Yeah, they're curved.
Yeah,
huge.
180, and
Yeah.
like they'd fly over a hill, right? Or
Yeah.
someone would be
Yeah.
skiing,
Right.
and some people would get sick from it because they felt like they were there.
Well, those kinds of things usually are kind of, it's an issue with how it's done. It's not perfect. That seems to be most of the issue. It's the same reason why people have issues with like VR, where they'll get effectively motion sick from VR. It's because it's not perfect. It's close, but you as a human apparently are fantastic at seeing the minor differences in latencies and irregularities and inconsistencies in frame time and stuff like
Well,
that.
you're used to seeing none.
You never
Real
see that in
life,
real life,
yeah.
right? So never in your life have you seen this. And now all at once you put a screen on your head. There's a little bit of latency from your inputs to your what you see in your eyes, and your body doesn't know what's going on.
I just remember like being at that. When you guys were young, we used to go to like that thing, and I think on one of them or all of them, you'd be standing upright, and then like if the plane would bank or something, everyone would be tipping
Well, yeah.
sideways.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
I'm watching, so that's funny.
Yeah.
Most people don't even realize it, but they're moving with the freaking screen. It's kind of wild. And
I see
that's-
people do that in cars too. I know they think it's funny.
That's some pretty heavy immersion there. You're really
You look at
you're
someone
completely
cornering,
immersed into
move over.
the yeah, right.
I
Yeah,
think
well,
it's funny looking
yeah.
at people.
I
do
imagine
that.
if you were like in the same thing, like I said, I think it'd be cool with this cockpit thing they're doing. It'd be almost like being in a bobsled team, and sitting in there and having it really close up where you're like you're banking with the guys.
Go to the theater and see Top Gun when it comes out, and see if people do that. If
Yeah.
presumably
Oh,
there's
yeah.
like some
Almost
FPV
guarantee it.
views, see if everyone's moving around.
Yeah, you could almost guarantee it.
Well, everybody in the shop is excited to see it. Talking about it yesterday, they're like, "Did we get our tickets yet?" I'm like, "I don't know if they're even available yet."
When's the movie coming out?
Next month or something.
So it's pretty soon. Yeah.
They're
I thought
some-
summer.
May
Yeah,
maybe.
May. Oh, summer's almost here. Right?
Yeah.
May.
Before you know it, it'll be May.
Yeah, I think it's May.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So that might be an experience for that, and for sight and sound. Assuming the theater you go, try to find a theater that has the best audio possible. Some of them are better than others.
Well, yeah.
Some are others. So
We didn't really answer the question though.
Well,
So
yeah,
what
we're
is
dancing
that
around.
thing? And see, that's kind of the trouble. If somebody knew exactly what it was, they would sprinkle more in. Like if you could just buy
Well,
this magic thing,
Oh, magic thing.
you just
Yeah.
pour a little extra and you're good.
Some seasoning of magic.
Yes.
Well,
It's a
we do.
little jug.
We do have our jar of secrets here
Oh, yeah.
that we do shoot for.
Keep pouring more in.
Yeah, right. We just right. But it's got to be done in the proper proportions.
Oh, wow.
So you can't just pour it in. Like if you
Yeah.
dump too much magic in there,
Mm.
then it goes the other way. People won't
That's
believe
actually a thing, though.
it. Yeah,
It's true.
Too much magic.
too much. You can't have too much magic.
That is actually a thing. Yeah. It's kind of like any type of other thing, really. Cooking, whatever.
It'd be like screaming
balance.
abracadabra really loud, right?
Right.
It's too much abracadabra.
Oh, too much.
Yeah,
Everything needs to be just right
yeah, that's right.
for you to not notice.
Yeah, I guess you can overdo food. This is too much.
Yeah.
Over the
Right.
top.
Yeah, same with sound.
Yeah.
It's too much of something. That's all it takes. Right. So yeah, it's a very delicate balance. This whole magic thing. It's a very delicate balance. And I think though that for the most part we've seen though when people hear it, they recognize it. I think
Usually.
they
It still takes a little bit of experience, but for those people that have some experience with headphones that have been seeking this in other systems and never found it, it's usually obvious when they sense it in some other product. And occasionally people do it at a show. Occasionally you'll hear people say, wow, it was like I was there, or that was lifelike. That was the
at
best
least
thing I've ever
a
heard.
piece of it. Like they
Yeah.
might notice it
A
in the
little bit.
vocals, or it depends on their experience level. But yeah, you're right. And everybody's different how they respond. But usually they'll take when you got that perfect magic setup.
At least you glean a little glimpse of
Yeah,
of it.
something
Might
will
not
touch
just
you.
be fully immersed in it, but you're like, I could see what people are talking
That's
about.
the beginning of it. That's the
Yeah.
spark, and something just touches you, and the system is like, wow, that was really cool. And I think everyone's got that different kind of spot where the beginning occurs, but once that starts, that puts you on the train to magic, to what the real magic
The
is.
magic train.
The magic train.
It's more of like a rabbit hole situation.
Well, maybe it's a magic carpet ride. It is a rabbit hole too, but magic carpet ride. That's a good tune. Yeah. And on that note, there you go. So all you got to do is maybe you should just wish for some magic.
We need to
Wish.
put the right amount of seasoning in.
Yeah. Just close your eyes. That's why people close their eyes when they listen. Close your eyes and pretend you're there, and see where it takes you. That's the start. And unfortunately, you got to try to make sure you're like in a quiet area to do this.
That's how
That helps. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for watching us. Thumbs us up. Oh, by the way, don't forget TOTL at abyssheadphones.com. We're always looking for ideas. If you got something that you want us to talk about, email us TOTL at abyssheadphones.com. Thanks. Take care.